Are you concerned that the current leasehold property that you are holding is decreasing in value, and that is why you are now looking for a freehold property, right? If this question is important to you, stay tuned and watch this video. Hi everyone, I'm Gaynor from Property Made Simple, and in this video, I'll share with you 3 important questions that you got to ask yourself before you make a decision to swap your property from a leasehold to a freehold. Now, the very first question that you have to ask yourself is your property really that old that you need to make a decision right now? Now, so why do I say this, right? Is because I think I've been marketing some freehold properties and there are buyers who inquire about it. And after much, a discussion with them, I realized that their HDB is just 5 years MOP, or their property that they are staying is just only 5 to 6 years old, which is really not that old that you need to make a decision right now, right? So in my personal opinion, to me, I think that if properties that are just 10 years or 20 years old, I think they are still fine, right? But of course, if your property is already 30 to 40 years old, then maybe you just need to put a little bit more concern about this and understand what is your next plan should you swap your property, right? At the end of the day, you need to understand that, most important, you need to sell your property when the market is right so that at least, you get some profits back, okay? So the second question that you need to ask yourself is, do you really need to get a freehold instead, right? So why this statement, right? Because I think that there are a lot of people who has this concept that they need to buy a freehold in order to preserve their funds, right? After selling their leasehold property, which to me, I think personally, is not, is something that may not be necessary. Now, why do I say that? Because I personally think that property market is really very fluid. So that means there will be ups and downs, and I think plans can change, right? So if we straight away jump into buying a freehold and have the concept that we just want to preserve our funds, then we will probably be very we will not be very in relation. That means we may not know what is the property market doing then. So meaning to say, if the market goes up, if the market goes down, we may not be that of concern, which may not be very healthy. So this is what I feel that is really very important for you to take note, right? So that at least, do you really need to get a freehold? Because leasehold can be good as well, right? It depending on whether are you getting a newer leasehold or getting an older leasehold, right? At the end of the day, it depends on your objectives. Now, the third most important question is, does it financially make sense, right? Why I say so? Because first of all, we need to understand that freehold can be a little bit more expensive than leasehold depending on the location that you are looking for, right? So for example, recently I'm marketing a freehold property that costs $2 million, right? And those buyers who seen my unit, they have to add both names, husband and wife, so that they can financially afford to buy that freehold property, right? But the question is, do you really have to do so? Do you really have to financially stretch yourself so that you want to, fulfill the concept of preserving the funds, right? Now, in fact, I just want to share with you this very important thing, because I have some clients that in fact they didn't go for the $2 million freehold property. They just split the name, right? And they just buy a leasehold and a freehold, or both leasehold as well, which can make sense depending on your finances, right? So I think this is something really important, especially for this third question that you got to ask yourself: does it financially make sense for you? So I hope you love this video that I've just done for you. Especially, you need to ask yourself these 3 important questions before you make the move from a leasehold to a freehold, right? So if you enjoyed this video and you find that this is really very beneficial, just help me to like, or share, or probably even just give me some comments so that I know that all my videos are doing really very well, right? And I'll see you real soon.